Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of The Last Gunfighter, Winter Kill, by William W. Johnstone, with J.A. Johnstone, narrated by George Guidall, and directed by Chris Thies.
Chapter 1. Frank Morgan dropped to one knee and fired twice. Muzzle flames spurted from the thick shadows in the alley across the street, and Frank felt the wind-rip of a bullet going past his head. He triggered again, aiming just above the muzzle flash he had seen, and this time he was rewarded by a yell of pain. The bushwhacker in the alley wasn't the only one yelling. The street had been rather crowded when the shooting started, and men shouted curses and questions as they tried to scurry out of the line of fire. Frank lunged to his feet and darted behind a parked wagon. He crouched low and took off his high-crowned hat so that he could risk a look past the end of the wagon's sideboards. A man stumbled out of the alley, gun in hand. His other hand was pressed to his belly, where Frank's slug must have caught him. "Damn you!" he screamed. "You've killed me!" The man jerked his gun up and fired again. Frank drew a bead and put a bullet through the bushwhacker's head, knocking him off his feet. Gut shot like that, the varmint might have lived long enough to empty his revolver, and innocent folks might get hit by the stray bullets flying around. Frank didn't want that. The citizens of Seattle and visitors to the town had already been endangered enough by this fracas. Frank stepped out from behind the wagon and clapped his hat back on his head. He still had one round left in the Colt. He kept the gun trained on the fallen man as he approached. Light spilling through the open doors and windows of buildings along the street showed him that the bushwhacker wasn't moving, but Frank hadn't survived all those long, dangerous years on the frontier by taking unnecessary chances. Frank Morgan was a gunfighter. He was known as the Drifter because ever since leaving his home in Texas not long after the Civil War, he had never stayed in one place for very long. A little more than 3 decades had passed since then, and he was still as fiddle-footed as ever. He had to be. Every time he attempted to settle down, somebody tried to kill him. That was part and parcel of the reputation he had as maybe the fastest gun alive. Of all the famous gunfighters who had lived in the West during its wild and woolly days, Smoke and Matt Jensen, John Wesley Hardin, Matt Bodine, Ben Thompson, Falcon McAllister, Frank Morgan was the last one who hadn't either crossed a divide or hung up his guns. The only shootist remaining in his league was the mysterious Kid Morgan, who had taken to roaming the Southwest in recent months. People might have remarked on the two of them having the same last name and wondered if they were related, but nobody knew for sure. No one but
Sample complete. Ready to continue?